All right, here we go. Welcome to episode number 26 of the Soul Rollers podcast. My name is Jackson Gage. I'm here with William Dennis, aka Turner Smiles, and we're here to speak about Jiujitsu life and self-mastery, as we are every week, except for last week. We skipped a week. Had some stuff going on, so that happens once in a while. No matter how hard we try to get connected on here, there's a lot of shit going on. William's about to have a child. He's actually the one pregnant. So that's a big deal. That's a big deal in the Dennis family. New job, stuff like that. So lots going on, but we're still connecting and making it work. So still training too.
Yeah.
And yeah, follow us on Instagram, soulrollers_JJ. And yeah, man, just been getting some training in the last few days. I think I took a few days off too. I don't know what happened, but I took a few days off too. Sometimes you need to, man. Sometimes it's good to just take a few days off. Well, at least for me, because my body gets fucked up, like I'll take a week off and I'm like, oh, fuck, I can move, like I can move my grips. Like, you close your fist, it doesn't hurt quite as bad. You wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, it's only 30% fucking miserable pain right now. But then you start forgetting shit that you were learning and you got to get back. At least me, I know you took like a little bit of time off, and how was that? And then you go back. My cardio always goes away in a week. It takes me a year and a half, 2 years to build up my cardio. And then I take off 3 days and I can't breathe after one fucking roll, and I eat good and fucking work out every day. So maybe it's a mental thing.
It is a mental thing. That's what I'm learning. Cause like I said in the last episode, talking about my coach is like, hey, what's the mindset when you're saying, oh, I'll just start on the bottom, that kind of thing. And this last week we're still working on passing. And so I rolled with him yesterday and I'm like, nope, I'm going to pass. And so I really worked on trying not to get swept and really working on changing my grips and resetting. But man, you get tired trying to pass, you get exhausted. It's like my legs were burning. I was tired, but I'm like, reset, let's go. Come on. And just kept, tired is a thought. Tired's just a thought. And I can listen to that thought and I can live into it, or I can go, yeah, whatever, come on, and keep pushing past that, Yeah. And I really think that's important to, find that edge, whether it's cardio, whether it's a mindset, whatever it is, and just really step into pushing past it, and that comes with the community of the people you surround yourself with. I think we were just talking about that recently. Friends, like who are your friends? Your friends should be your greatest, exposure to growth. They should be encouraging you to grow. They should be kind of asking you, tougher questions or holding you accountable to things that are greater than you think possible. And that's kind of what coach did for me, is saying, hey man, what's with that mindset? Like, come on, let's push it. And a good coach and a good friend will do that. Like, no, you're better than this. When you and I talk, I think we're our greatest cheerleaders of each other, like, man, you got this. You're world class. Let's go,
Yeah.
And it's so important to have that in life and in jiu-jitsu and everything.
Yeah. And it's not only just the encouragement, it's people that are like there to push you past your comfort. And some people are adverse to that. Like some people don't want, and maybe it's somebody listening, there's some people who look at that as a negative thing. Like, oh, this motherfucker's calling me out. Yeah. Fuck him. Their ego, that there's people who only have yes men around them. I know people like that who, if you don't just, if you push them at all, then why would they be friends with you? Because they're the fucking king of the world. And, but that's not how you get better. You need friends who are like constantly pushing each other. We push each other all the time, and there's no anger in it. No one gets mad. It's just like, whatever it may be, like, hey motherfucker, I've been waiting for 20 minutes and I never heard back from you about fucking, are you jumping on this goddamn podcast or not? And I'll give you a hard time about it. Like, let's go, motherfucker, and if I did it, you would do the same thing. And that's what a good friendship is. Like constantly pushing. Like, I only want people around me who are pushing themselves and trying to push me, and that's it. And anybody else is like, fuck you. Like, I don't got time for that anymore at this point in my life, so.
Yeah. It's, when you see them go through a hard time in their life and they're negative, they're very focused on, the struggle they're in the moment, and they can't see past that. And it could be, a time where it's like, look, they're just venting, and let them vent. Right. But that's not a building of a relationship. That's not we're both adding value to a relationship when, which is a connection between two people. It doesn't matter. The type of relationship is always based on two people interacting, and where's the value in that, so really digging into that and just add value today, instead of coming here and complaining about stuff. Like, and I'm not saying there's not a place or time for complaints, because me and you go through our hard times too. But once you do that, go, okay, now that you heard me vent, what am I not seeing? Where am I being short-sighted? Where am I being egotistical? Where am I being, a flawed, and I think each relationship should be pushing us towards an edge that we're not comfortable with. In jiu-jitsu, we roll against each other. Me and D just rolled against each other yesterday. And it was like, dang, it was hard. It's like we're really pushing each other. And I was telling him, like, you better not quit. You better submit me. You're going to go for the gold. He's going to compete in a couple of weeks. I'm like, you better get that gold medal, man. Come on. And I was just fighting and fighting all I could until he finally got me at the end of the roll. Boom, got me in a choke, and he got me. And I'm like, hell yeah. Like, he did not give up an inch until he got that submission, right? Mm-hmm. And I didn't give up an inch until I made him. I was like, I'm not going to stop until you get it. And I have no choice but to tap. And like, we pushed each other to our edge, and that's what we constantly try to do. And if I see something, like maybe it's a mindset thing, like, hey, check out this book. Hey, what, and if like me and you talk about, like, hey, this is something super important to me. I love this. This is something I love. This is who I want to be as a person. And then you remind me, like, hey man, don't ever forget this. Don't let this dream go away. Step into this. Yeah. And I think jiu-jitsu calls us to that. It calls us to an edge that normally we don't want to participate in. What's so funny about our brain is it's wired for survival. And so even with, like, jiu-jitsu goes against our brain's wiring almost. Like our brain wants, comfort. And so when I get tired, my brain's like, oh, sit down, stop participating. And so I have to go against the very, conditioned wiring in my brain and go, nope, keep pushing, and nope, push past this. And it just really goes against our brain's survival mechanisms. And it's so cool to see that, and then start applying that to your marriage, apply that to your parenting, apply that to whatever, like we talk about here. It's so impactful because, making failure something that is a growth tool could change your whole life. And that's what jiu-jitsu I just keep failing and failing and failing and have to reset and try again and reset, because a lot of times, and I don't know if you got this ever in your, but when I struggle with passing, and like coach is teaching us, when you get into someone's guard, whether it's De La Hiva, reverse De La Hiva, something, they have a hook. It's set up. Why are you pushing forward into that? You're giving them the sweep. And dang, like, I'm frustrated because I'm stuck now. I'm in their guard. Like, what? And so now I'm, getting myself off balance by pushing forward and not, going, okay, the reality is I'm in this guard now. So now I have to address the issue. And not just kind of being blind to the issue and just forcing my way through, which we do in life, right? Maybe we're struggling in a certain aspect of our life, but we just want to numb out or ignore it and get tripped up by life. And then we're like, man, life's jacked up. It's screwing me over. It's, hard on me, or, you become a victim, but you're not addressing the reality of what is really taking place and just moving towards that instead of, so literally you can compare jiu-jitsu to anything. Yeah, that's my moral of the story.
Yeah, God damn it. There we go again. Like you said, there are so many things I wanted to touch on right now. And by about the fifth one, I'm like, fuck, I can't remember the first one now. Fuck, God damn it, William. But one thing I was, okay, I think I remembered three of them. One of them was, when you vent, this was at the beginning where you started talking about venting. And when you vent to somebody, because we vent to each other, and it's okay to vent. You don't want to be the person who's always every time you talk to them, they're fucking being negative and complaining, talking shit about the people around them and shit. You don't want to be that motherfucker. Stop yourself right away if you're talking shit about the people around you all the time. Like, no one wants to be around you, but if you need to vent to a friend, to make sure it's a friend who's going to push you, because both, okay, if I call and I have some shit going on, I talk to William, or the same, if he talks to me, it's not going to be like, oh yeah, man, I feel pretty bad for you, bro. Like, yeah, fuck that shit. Fuck him, fuck her, fuck the, you're right. It's going to be like, hey, motherfucker, here's how you're going to fix this. Like, quit complaining. This is where your mind should be. Why aren't you focused on this? And that's, so you want to vent. Like, I want to vent to William because I know I'm going to get back a real fucking answer. I'm going to get something back that challenges me to get out of where I'm at mentally at that moment. So I just wanted to piggyback off the venting thing. And then the other thing was that we had a D mentioned. So we need to get that sound effect in here for that every time D is mentioned in the podcast. So you mentioned D, and we didn't have any piano playing at that moment, but D, hello D, he just released his Lock Us brand, which means strength, and pretty dope thing he's got going. So check that out. I think it's at Lock Us brand, LAKASBRAND, and yeah, good shit. Just go check it out. Give him a follow. Good dude. He's on episode 20 what? 23. Yeah, look here. Here's a sticker right here. Check that out if you're watching the video.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah, man. So. Yeah. Anyhow, D, there's your weekly shout out, bro. Uh,
Yeah, Jeff, he
made it
rolls. He's a blue belt. Jeff sent me like a tune on Instagram. It was funny. That like it was a really good sound. I was like, oh yeah, we'll have to like.
What was it? Oh, about
He
D?
sent me like, yeah, he's like, because
He's
he
like,
listened to the episode.
play
He's like,
this one,
he
D.
does need his own time, like he's his own music.
D should have it. D should have it. Maybe D plays the piano. He can like orchestrate his own fucking, D's a multifaceted dude, So
oh yeah, he's talented.
yeah. I think it's funny we fucking talk about D every goddamn episode.
It's funny because me and him bring our kids, and we're always going to the same classes, so it works out.
Yeah,
works out great.
Then there was something else. Oh, something else I wanted to. You were talking about passing, and it made me think of, and maybe some jujitsu people can relate to this shit because we did like knee slice passing for like a month, and it was just positional movement drills, pummeling legs from standing up while they're seated, all these different grips and fucking leg drags and like, and my mind was blown by that month, because you're doing so much cool shit, and we're doing it for a month, and then, God damn it, a couple weeks later, we're doing some other shit. Now we're doing these really dope sequences, like arm bar to the back. You're doing the arm bar to get the back take. The arm bar isn't really an arm bar unless you have it, but they defend and you take the back. And then from the back, you sweep, and from the back, you sweep into an arm bar, and then they're going to defend it. And from that defense, you take the other side arm bar. So basically, you're hitting the arm bar to do all that other shit. Like, this is where I'm going to end up. This is how I'm getting there. Anyhow, amazing shit, right? I'm like, fuck, my mind is blown every day. But I'm like, then I start doing, my buddy's like, hey, let's drill that fucking passing we were doing. Fuck, I don't remember any of it. I don't goddamn remember any of it. I don't know if I'm just fucking, I don't know. Maybe it just didn't stick with me. But I'm like, goddamn, how do I get good at this shit if I forget all the shit I learned? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's because there's so much shit going on. So anyhow, I'm sure there's people that can relate to that shit, man, because you just get so much info. But I mean, there's people that get really good. So I guess you just slowly pick the things out that work for you.
Yeah. And that's the trick. I mean, you take, maybe out of all the, it's like my rants, like what's one insight you got out of it? And let's talk about that. You take what you can, because that's what I think we're all kind of, receivers of information, and how do we take in as much as possible? We're learning how to be better students. We're learning how to be better learners. And I think that's really imperative in jiu-jitsu. It's, coach will show us something. It's like, what's the best opportunity for me to take this in and learn it the most efficient and, effective way. And that's taking notes, right? Like, taking notes, after your class, maybe that's recording your roles and looking at, certain things that you're doing, things like that. You got to be able to take this stuff in. And that's where it's really challenging to be a good learner. And we're learning how to do that. It's not easy.
Yeah. Recording is probably good. Recording shit. I'm going to start doing that, recording.
Yeah.
What I'm learning. I don't do that enough,
Yeah. And sticking to like certain fundamentals enough. And that's where you start to realize, like, everything you do, you need to slow it down. Like it's funny how quickly we get in a hurry in things. Yeah. I'm busy here doing this. I'm busy doing that. I got to hurry this up. And we begin you get into this fast paced, rushed version of everything. And jiu-jitsu tells you like to slow everything down, slow down when you're drilling, Yeah. Because if you rush and you skip, like coach was saying this yesterday with the drill we're doing, he's like, look, slow it down, because you may be getting, in the flow and just kind of rushing. You're going to skip one step. That's the key step to the whole move. And then you're halfway doing it. But when you get into live roll, it's not going to work. And I'm like, dang, you're right. Because that one grip or that one, placement of the knee or whatever you're doing, if that's off, it's off. And so it's like slow down to speed up, right? Slow down. And we don't take the time. Even this podcast, it really helps to slow down. And this, I think, slows us down. Morning routines, journaling, taking the time to take notes and really get clear on what am I focused on, right? Like, how do I learn this move? You got to slow it down. You got to break it down, very simplified, step-by-step process, and get very clear on what you're trying to accomplish. And I felt that the other day, like just overwhelmed with everything that's going on. And I'm like, man, what do I need to be studying right now in jiu-jitsu? And I'm like, fundamentals. What are you talking about? What do you mean? Like, get back to the fundamentals. If you're ever overwhelmed or kind of off track, go right back to fundamentals. Where are you focused? Because the benefit is my little guy is training, and learning. And he's like, hey, can you help me practice escaping the mount? And I'm like, sure. So we were in his bedroom and he was trying to escape the mount, and I was just showing him little things, and then showing him like, man, if you have your feet on the mat like that, they're always going to pass and get you in mount. And so I just showed him getting his feet up on their hips and using that to get guard again and get to close guard or whatever. And every roll he was doing it. He's like a
Yeah.
little sponge, but he just slowed down and practiced a little bit, and then he knew what to do. It was really impressive. I think we all need to do that as humans.
Just slow down. Yeah, there's like I've noticed that during drills at this point now, like I do them really slow, man. You get so much more efficient when you just make sure every movement is precise in the drilling. There's no point of fucking like I got one partner who's like, dude, he's blue belt. He's good, man, because he's so fucking athletic and young and fucking strong and top game, doesn't play guard looking motherfucker, never plays guard. But during drills, I don't drill with him anymore because I'd be getting injured and shit when he I get injured off drilling with the motherfucker because it's like everything's jerky and like missing steps and just especially if the coach walks by, like goddamn, God forbid, goddamn, the professor walks by while he's drilling on me and shit. He's gonna go 120%, and miss everything, and I'm gonna end up with like a swollen lip and shit, or like a fucked up shoulder or something, So I just avoid training with that motherfucker, drilling with him. Don't be that guy, relax. And speaking of relaxing, I know that there's a lot of, and I'm a pro marijuana guy. William's not a marijuana guy, so I don't want to speak for William, but I don't think William has anything against it. But I know there's a lot of guys who smoke marijuana before they train. It's like pretty big in jiu-jitsu, there's even competitions now where the guys smoke, like high rollers, jiu-jitsu. Actually, they have a tournament coming up, and I'm getting some more of this, but they have a tournament up, cop versus stoners. So that seems pretty dope. So it's cops who train versus stoners who train. But I have never really, I'll smoke a little bit sometimes, but recently the other day I took a few hits. Like for those who smoke, I got fucking high as a motherfucker before I went, like sometimes you get a little buzz, but sometimes you get you're like, oh shit, I took one hit too many on that motherfucker. I'm sitting there in my car before class, just fucking pondering my whole life and shit. I'm like, damn, should I even be doing jiu-jitsu? Why am I doing this shit? Who the fuck am I right now? What the fuck's going on in my life?
Do I even exist?
Yeah. I start thinking about God and shit. I'm like, fuck. All right, let me go in here. God damn it. Here we go. I'm breathing heavy and shit. But I went in and it was I totally saw the huge benefit for me of that. It's really a good combination for me. And, everything was slowed down. I had no fucking need to, we didn't even roll. We went and trained, and me and my partner, we had the kind of open mat. We had the key to go train, and we didn't even fucking roll. We were just drilling at a really slow pace, relaxed. I had fucking some reggae on. And that was one of the most, we had a conversation. I've realized things about jiu-jitsu I hadn't even realized, but I've never realized, my jiu-jitsu mind expanded hugely just in that one day from getting high as a motherfucker and going and training jiu-jitsu and talking about it. So if you're a smoker and you haven't smoked, if you're a marijuana guy, I look at, to me, it's a medicine, man. It's really it's like a spiritual sacrament for my life. It always has been. And if you're that guy and you haven't tried it with jiu-jitsu, I fucking highly recommend it. And I'm into health and mindset and being happy. And I don't fuck with any other, I only fuck with plants and that type of shit. I don't even drink alcohol. But I highly recommend that. And I bring that up because you were saying slow down, and fuck, I slowed way down, and it was huge for me. So anyhow, there's that. Yes.
Yeah, it was funny. Yesterday we were rolling and we line up real quick, and coach will pick your partner. And I was just like, man, I smell weed. One of the guys was like, it's probably me.
Good.
Right.
I have noticed because I've like through social media, since we've done this, I've like started following some of your training partners, or like we've become kind of friends, some of these guys or whatever, through social media. And I've noticed like there's quite a few of them are fucking stoners, out of the ones that I've been, which is not a bad thing. It's, and I think it's really, it's part of the, there's a lot of people in jiu-jitsu who are, they kind of just go together, if you're a stoner, which is strange. I don't know how it is, but it is.
Well, it's just really cool because the community is so inclusive, like there's such a diverse amount of people. Even when we were at that competition, you and I got to go together. It was just like seeing some of the guys that weren't competing. I'm like, oh, I've never even talked to them outside the, being in a gi. And so it was just like, it was weird seeing them in just normal clothes. I'm like, oh, you get to see like, oh, wait a minute. Like I'm really close to this guy, and none of this, like the way they dress, the way they act, like who they are outside of, being on the mats really mattered to me. I just got to know them on that level. And that was so much more important. And that's a really cool quality of life where it's like, your choices and your options in life, they're up to you and you do whatever you want. But on the mats, we're equals and we're connected and we just, we're close. It's really cool. Because there's very different people that even as a cop, like you only hung out with cops. You're just like, that was it. and you're very judgmental, like, no, only this kind of person and that kind of thing. So it's really cool, man. Like, I just really think slowing down and finding those edges and realizing like you don't rush through them. You know, anytime we feel any discomfort, we hurry it up, you know, get the heck out of there. You know, it's that instinctual thing. But yeah, there's some value in slowing down in life. And if that tool, which is a medicine, you know, if that medicine gives you that ability, go for it. You know, if it helps you in those areas, do it. But there's many tools, and just find the ones that work for you, and they're all good as long as they're used the way they're supposed to be.
Yep, for sure, man. I agree.
Yeah.
So,
but it's been cool. Like a bunch of the guys at the academy have been reaching out and saying, "Hey, I'm listening to the podcast stuff." So it's been a lot of fun connecting with them, you know, and you get to see like the effects that, you know, your interaction with them is having. And then, you know, we're all learning together at the same time. So I'm excited. It seems like our academy is really growing now that we got through all that COVID bullshit, you know, and, you know, it's coming around again, but still, it's cool to see like all the blue belts are starting to advance towards purple, and like there's a big group of white belts coming in, and it was been crazy the last couple of weeks though. Like there's some people there going through a lot, you know, you can see like people are going through like, you know, one of the guys lost a family member, and there, you know, there's all this stuff going on in personal lives, and you can see like, because we're connected through jiu-jitsu, we're able to be there for each other. So I thought that was a really cool thing too, because sometimes you do got to slow it down and go, you know what, it's not all about the training too. Like, yeah, we roll together, but there's times where you're sitting there on the mats talking to it and you realize how much someone's going through, and you're like, man, I'm glad you're here, you know? And if you need anything, let me know. You know, we're connected now. We're family, you know, we're in this together, and we've been through stuff on the mats, and, you know, whatever's going on in your personal life, I'm here if you need anything. And I think it's an important message to get out there is you're not alone. You know, I felt very alone after law enforcement and kind of that route that I took. Not fun, man.
No,
being alone.
Loneliness is a fucking, you know, loneliness is I think who was Aubrey Marcus was talking about that. And he was referring to loneliness as an epidemic, you know, like there's a lot of loneliness, especially now the way that the world is, all the bullshit going on in the world, man. There's a lot of people who are alone and feel lonely, you know, and probably with loneliness comes hopelessness, you know, and with hopelessness comes darkness. You know what I mean? So yeah, we're blessed to be able to have a community of people in jiu-jitsu who, you know, you're not judged. You are who you are. And if you go in and you have heart and you know, you like to scrap, then you're going to be accepted by the person across from you. It doesn't matter who you are. I think we talked about that before, man. Like, you know, for instance, there's this white belt who's been here for like 4 months. He's rolled with everyone. For some reason, he'd rolled with everyone but me until yesterday. And I've never fucking been friends with him. I haven't talked to him, nothing, you know, because you're busy rolling and shit. And then finally you roll with him and you scrap for a few minutes. And all of a sudden, like every time you see him, you're friends, you know, and that's what jiu-jitsu offers. It's that kind of primal human natural connection that we've lost in our society. You know, people are so disconnected from themselves, from God, from their truth, from other humans. And we're able to get that in jiu-jitsu, man. And it's easy, real quick. It's easy to not, you know, you see some guys, they'll show up and then all of a sudden they don't, because shit's going on in their life or whatever. And that shit happens, man. You know, that happened the other day. That happened to me. I was going to jiu-jitsu and, you know, I had it planned out. You know, you got to plan out your day, get the timing. And then, you know, I got a call from somebody who was being a fucking bitch. And, you know, you know, baby mama, and you know, fucking fucks up my whole schedule, fucks my mind up. And on that day, I'm in the parking lot at jiu-jitsu, and this bitch pissed me off so much that I just was like, fuck it, I can't concentrate. You know, I just pulled out and left. I went home and sat in my own fucking anger, you know, and I had to get out of that mindset. I know it would have worked if I went into jiu-jitsu, it would have helped, but I wasn't even feeling it. You know, I was like, fuck it, I'm leaving, you know, like my mind isn't where it should be. And but then the next day I went and I'm good. You know what I mean? But it's, you know, the little things around us can really affect us. And it's just a constant game of getting better and working on ourselves.
Yeah, that's what I'm learning is showing up when I'm not 100%, you know, and that's all self-judgment. That's not the circumstances outside of us. That's all internal, you know, because there's some days, man, there's a day not too long ago, a few months back, where I was just like frustrated, you know, just getting into it with my wife, and I didn't want to go. It's like when we experience stress in whatever form or fashion, we just ball up, we isolate, right? We just kind of constrict. And being at jiu-jitsu, like, even before I started warm-ups, coaches like looking at me like, what's up? You all right? I'm like, ugh, I'm so frustrated. And he's like, he could tell, right? And I just, you know, started rolling, I started going, and before I know it, like it brings your focus to, where you're at, and it takes you out of that internal dialogue that's going on inside your head. It's so important to push through that, even when you don't feel like it, or even if you can't show up at 100%, which we require of ourselves all the time, right? We demand that of ourselves when it doesn't even make sense. But it's like the best thing you could do and is focus on how you're going to feel when you leave. Not worry about how you're going to feel trying to get there and like get into the you putting your gi together and getting ready. I just don't intrigue that dialogue. I don't even play with it. Like, oh well, you should just focus on this or stay here and do that. And it's just like, all right, chatter. I don't even get with that conversation. I'm not even talking back to that voice in my head because I know it'll take me off my plan, right? And it's the distractions, the discomforts, the edges, and the fears or the doubts or the overwhelms and the angers. Like all that stuff is in your brain to throw you off track. And that's where you need clarity is like, hey, I committed to being there. I'm showing up. My body doesn't feel like it. My brain doesn't feel like it. My emotions don't feel like it, but I'll show up at 40% even if I get rolled up and I'm gonna get my butt kicked, so be it. Maybe I need that lesson that day. And just showing up is so much more important because when you show up, you feel different about yourself. Even if you didn't show up at your best, you still showed up. There's some kind of mechanism in your brain where you start valuing yourself more. So that's like a challenge we got to do is showing up. And granted, we were talking about this yesterday, how hard it is to show up with the amount of time you put into training and, getting dinners and family and all that stuff. It's a commitment. It's a big commitment for you and your family. So I'm not saying show up every day or else at the expense of your family and all that, but man, especially when you're struggling emotionally, I even reached out to the guy that had a loss in his family and like, dude, sending you my condolences. I'm thinking about you. I'm here for you. We miss you on the mats. Like, I want him to come back, like come home, like come to this place and feel supported by your community. Right. And that's where, even if you're showing up in your shit, like you're fucking pissed off. Hey, bro, let's roll it out, man. Let's roll. I'm cool with it. Like, let's just let it out, man. You need to be here. You need to be supported. And I think we reject support and like people's compassion and consideration at times, because we get so isolated. Loneliness is a bitch, man, but it's familiar. And we go to what's familiar. That when we feel like we're in stress or whatever and anger, we just go to what's familiar. Yeah. And we can screw ourselves over by being stuck in that a lot of the times, man.
Yeah. I think one of the powers of going in there and training because a lot of our struggles are just in our mind, everything is in our mind and we're thinking about what just happened, which is the past, which no longer exists. Or we're worried about some shit coming up, which is in the future, which is still doesn't fucking exist. And the only thing that exists is right now, like I was listening to Joseph Murphy talk. Is that his name? Joseph Murphy, the hero's journey guy. And he was talking about how no, Campbell. That's a different Campbell. Joseph Murphy is a mindset guy. Joseph Campbell, right? Yeah. The cave we fear enter holds the treasure that we seek. That guy, he was saying that he was talking about eternity, and he was like, eternity isn't. It's like we think of eternity as this long amount of time. And he said, first of all, time doesn't exist. Time is just an illusion. Time is just made by man to keep us in order. Time isn't a real thing. And eternity isn't some long way away. The only thing that eternity is right now. Like this moment is eternity. This is all we have. This fucking moment. What are you doing with your eternity? Because that's all it is, right? This fucking moment, and so then if this moment is eternity, how do we bring ourselves into eternity? How do we bring ourselves into this moment? Well, one way is meditation. And to me, jiu-jitsu is meditation because it brings you into eternity. All of your thoughts about the past, all of your thoughts about the future disappear when you're in there focused. And so, you can go sit on a mountain in silence, to meditate, or you can go into jiu-jitsu. And I choose jiu-jitsu for that because that's the best meditation I've found. That's the best thing I found to take me into the moment. You're fucking focused on right now. Everything you've been thinking about is gone, at least for that hour. And if you can meditate like that for an hour and a half, where you're in the moment for an hour and a half, all that shit was fucking you up before is gone afterward, So yeah, anyhow, bring yourself into eternity. And real quick, man, thank you to you were saying that a lot of the dudes from your academy have been listening and we're getting more listeners. We're getting downloads, we're in the thousands now. So, thank you to anybody before I forget, super grateful for all you people that are downloading our podcast that we're sharing these conversations we have. Like we appreciate the fuck out of it. So, and thanks for letting us know that you're listening.
Yeah. My buddy Billy too. He's been listening and sharing it with the people he works out with at the gym and stuff. So
is he a jiu-jitsu guy?
He's done jujitsu in the past. He's not at Rivalry though. He's just a buddy that I know. So really, shout out to him. That's awesome, man. He's listening and sharing it and finding value in it. And he
Right
reached
on.
out to me and told me that. So
Good.
really great dude. So excited, man. Excited that people are connecting with us and connecting with our message. And I'm excited for what's coming. You know, we got some cool guests coming and some stuff lining up and jumping through the hoops of figuring it out, how to line it up and how to do the timeline of it all is fun. You know, we're figuring it out, you know, and that's what I think most of the time in jiu-jitsu, it's, you know, like I always said, like eliminate all the mistakes thinking first. That's the first part. Everyone's so excited to get the outcome that they skip all the beginning steps and all the like, oh yeah, first you don't even get to do the starting line. You got to go to all the that's keeping you from stepping up to the starting line. And then once you're at the starting line, then you start developing the fundamentals to begin to make progress. And, you know, and so this is a long journey, but it's fun trying to figure out schedules and switch things and do this and line it all up. And we're jumping through some big hoops. It's a lot of fun, man. We're creating bigger problems in our lives to become resilient enough to find different solutions. It's really cool to see the journey that this is taking and just one person at a time that it impacts. If it's just one person that says, wow, I love this, you know, or you connect with it. And, you know, it's really cool to connect with someone about something like this that we're creating. Because we wouldn't have this without jiu-jitsu. It's really exciting, you know, just trying to add value to jiu-jitsu and into the community. It means so much.
Yeah. Or to hear somebody talk to, you know, you hear like someone will say something to me about some shit I said on fucking this, like episode 10 about my life. Like they were in the conversation, you know, like,
yeah,
you know, and it's kind of a trip. It's a trip like, oh shit, you listened to that? Right on, man. Thank you. Fuck. I didn't know anybody was. I appreciate it. You know, and you let your test, like you were saying, man, like, your test become your testament, you know, like we're figuring out this podcast, you know, like I've said before, we're episode 26, you know, how good are we going to be at this shit? Episode 100, you know, where are we going to be at episode 1000? And then when you get to that point and someone asks you, fuck, 1,000 episodes, you guys are killing it. You're doing this, you're doing that. You got these sponsors, whatever you got going on. How the fuck did you do it? And well, we had fucking 1,000 days, 1,000 weeks of fucked up mistakes. That's how we did it. And we kept doing it. You know what I mean? And that's jiu-jitsu as well. And we're able to apply that mindset to this podcast and to whatever else we do, because all it is just mistake after mistake after mistake. Like Winston Churchill said, you know, success is moving from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. And, you know, you got to be willing to just fuck up every goddamn week. When are we going to record this shit? Fuck, I don't know. What do you got going on? What do you got? I'm bringing the kids. What are you doing? Well, I got to bring the wife here. I got the kids this morning, and I don't know if I'll be able to do that. I'm signing up for this fucking job and shit. Okay, well, I got to do this. I got to do that. You know, and it's like, well, fuck, let's find one motherfucking hour. You know, we're going to find 1 hour, and we do it. You know what? Last week we didn't. That was a failure on our part, but that's okay. You know, that's making us who we are as we fell through life. You know, it's it's in the doing, in the action, in the trying, in the steps. That's where all the learning and the growth happens, you know? So yeah, man.
Yeah. Here's another take on, and it kind of connects to Dee's brand that lock us.
He's nuts.
A little too graphic. But like I was in the
play the goddamn music. Okay, go ahead.
Where's the back? And these people are out there boxing.
Hold up, start that over. You were quiet for a minute there. I don't know if it recorded. Tell the story about the boxing.
I went to the park with my kids, and
in
the park, the grass area, they had like this whole setup. It was like Mayweather, like fitness boxing. You know, I had a picture of Mayweather, and there's like these instructors are jumping around, yelling, and getting people to like box the air and stuff. And it just made me think like nature, you know, family, and combat was like the really like the breakdown, the foundation of that brand which they're creating, which is really cool. And I'm like, as humans, we're like drawn to combat, you know, the challenge and the difficulty that it presents us, right? That voluntary struggle. And of course it comes in different fashions, forms, like fitness in the park, like punching the air or whatever, you know, or jujitsu, which I think jujitsu is 10 times better for you, but I'm biased. And I was just thinking like, man, people crave that, you know, like it's been a part of our civilization. It's been a part of our history from everything I've read about history for all the time, you know, like when you think about Spartan warriors and stuff, they crave it, you know. And I was driving to do the academy the other day, it was yesterday for training, and I was like pulling up where I turn in to go, and I was tired, I'm sore, I'm hurting, like you were saying. And I'm like, I was born for this shit, man. Like I was born for this difficulty. I was born for this growth. Like it ignites something inside you. There's a spark. There's like an endless, relentless spirit inside you that comes alive when it faces challenge. And so I think combat, in whatever form or fashion that you take part in it, which I would recommend doing it in a healthier formation of it, like jujitsu, martial arts, or even fitness, boxing in the park. But it's almost like humans crave that challenge, that it's innate in us. What do you think about that? Do you think that's true?
Yeah. I think, no. Yeah, I definitely think that humans naturally, are, that's what we're missing. That's one of the things we're missing in our society as our society continues toward a place of pussification, like, like you look at the fucking males, males are slowly turning into females. No offense. I'll say whatever the fuck I want. If you want to cancel me or you don't like it, you can suck my dick. But I have nothing bad to say about it. But males are turning into females and shit. Slowly men are being less men. They're less fucking men. Like if naturally we're combatives. Look at males in nature. Look at male animals in nature. Even when they're not fucking fighting, they're fucking play fighting. You know what I mean? You get dogs. What do they do all goddamn day? They fight. And like people who don't know dogs, like, oh, your dogs are fighting. No, they're not. They're fucking around and having fun and like wrestling and shit. Leave them the fuck alone. They're not fighting. You see like chimpanzees. We talk about this a lot. I was watching two gorillas fucking fighting the other day. They weren't fighting. It was two big, like however big, the 600-pound pure muscle, two of these motherfuckers, and they're grappling. They were literally like, pummeling and fucking doing takedowns, leg locks and shit, these two big ass gorillas. And I think that's, our primal instinct is slowly being taken away from us through domestication and living in this fucking matrix that we live in, where, how much can we take how much, as society grows, our natural instincts are slowly taken from us. That's why things like primal movement and eating organic and staying as close as you can to nature is so healthy, because if not, you're going to be loaded with garbage and medications and bullshit, and working somewhere you don't want to work and living in this fucking box of a house and away from nature. And slowly we just become these little fucking lifeless beings, and I think combat keeps us close to that for sure, man. That's why we feel so good when we do it. That's why we feel so good when we get there and we wrestle. And because it's part of what we do. You ever watch male lions? They bite the fuck out of each other. They fight. Either they're fighting for real for a female, or they're just wrestling around, and I mean, you don't want to get to a place in society like the Egyptians got to a place where they were so spoiled and, they just became so spoiled and narcissistic that they were covered in gold. The men lost all their athletic ability. They became pussified, and then their fucking empire falls. You know what I mean? And I think we still need fucking warriors walking amongst us, for sure, because, it just keeps the fucking gene pool strong, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I love reading about the Spartans and how they trained like every day. Like I read, like Stephen Pressfield has a pretty cool book on the Spartans. It was like a fiction book, but he like wrote a story about the Spartans and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's intense, the battles that they had, and then the training that they do. Would die in training, right?
Damn.
Like, and that's what, like men have lost like rites of passage in life, like pushing yourself to an edge, which I jiu-jitsu is the feedback loop in it, where it's not just like punching air in the park. Like, it's cool to do the moves, like, yeah, like doing the punches, but there's no feedback. Like there's no application, because I know that, this from being on the streets and fighting people. It's not the same. Like you could go punch a punching bag, but once that punching bag punches you back and you get punched in the face and you're like, whoa, what the hell? It's a whole different experience. Everything in life changes when there's an act of resistance against you. And you could see, I remember being in fights where that person instinctually got angry and was coming at me with ill intent in their eyes. And I'm like, oh, here we go. And that edge is scary. That's a scary human edge to experience. And when someone wants to kill you, it's a different animalistic experience. And to be in jiu-jitsu, where not only can you train the movements and the abilities, the information that it provides you with, the techniques, but then to actively engage in those techniques full out, like with all your effort, without causing mortal injury, you know what I mean? Without causing detrimental harm. You learn so much, you train so hard, you can push yourself to some extreme edges without causing permanent damage. It's really amazing. It's an amazing art form, because, you could throw some punches at the park, like Mayweather, fitness or whatever. And maybe it gets you in shape, and maybe that's your beginning of your journey. That's great. Do something. I don't care if it's just walking, do something, be active. But to get that feedback of an actual experience of resistance against you, and thankfully no one's trying to kill you at jiu-jitsu. If they are, there's something wrong with them. They're weird, but that experience, that's an extreme, of course, our experience of law enforcement, but that feedback and that experience of having resistance against what you're trying to, do is really important in life.
Yeah, that's huge. And a couple things on that. One, yeah, you can do like shadow boxing for fitness and shit, but and you're like, yeah, my cardio is getting good, this and that. Bro, that cardio, all of us, it's a different level of cardio when you got somebody in your face throwing punches, man, or taking you down. Then you're like, fuck, all this cardio I've been doing isn't shit. You know, I need cardio with resistance. This is a totally different fucking level when you got an angry motherfucker in front of you trying to attack you, you know, and you experience that. Yeah, as a cop, I've experienced that because there was a time where I wasn't working out that much and I just kind of got a little bit lazy. And you have somebody fight you or resist you or run from you, you know, and you're running after these kids who are like antelope and they're fucking literally jumping over fences in a single bound and shit, you know, and you're like, fucking, I ain't even going to try that mother. I'm not even going to jump the fence. Fuck it. See you later, bro. Get you on the next one, you little bitch, you know, and, but you're running. I remember that multiple times you're running after a guy, you know, you've always been thin and shit like that or whatever with your high ass metabolism. But for me, you know, like lifting weights and shit, and then you get in a fight and you're like, you can barely breathe. You think you're going to have a heart attack and shit, you know, in a small tussle. And it really like reminds you, you know, like, fuck, you need some resistance, most definitely, you know. And William, for those of you that don't know, William, especially how old were you when you first came on to the police department?
22.
Yeah, 22. Like you look at William now, when William was 22, man, he looked like fucking about 16, you know? So here's this like 16-year-old like white kid out there in the fucking hood, you know, dealing with these guys. And like, he was always getting in fights. Motherfuckers always wanted to fight him and test him. I think it's because they wanted to test you. Like, who is this little skinny motherfucker, you know? And so then William was fucking people up, you know? William was fucking people up out there, man. You know, we already talked about it, but just like knocking people eye out and shit. I remember you earned my respect that day when you punched that dude that fucking punched you, that fucking little gangster. Punched you and you punched him back and his fucking eye was broken, you know, when we rolled up. I was like, yeah, all right. William's good. He looks like he's a 16-year-old fucking kid from fucking, you know, Malibu or something, but he's out here fucking knocking gangsters out and shit. So, you know, William, you can hang out with us, motherfucker.
I think that's what got me on that team that I got put on, is because I actually like showed up and was going for it.
Yeah, chasing people every night, leg belt.
That's the thing for me. When someone ran, there was no fences. I wasn't willing to jump. There was no stop. Like I was all out. Like I will. And I remember chasing one guy. We went over so many fences, and I was running down the street chasing him because you're a good distance away from him. Usually, you have to catch up, and so you have to run faster than they're running to catch up to him. And I remember it was a long run. We went really far, and I remember I started to feel like I was going to throw up. My brain was like, man, if you go any further, you're going to puke. And I'm like, bring it. I'm going. And I just turned up to another gear and just went even harder when my brain was trying to get me to stop. And I went and caught up to him, got him in, you know, we fought after that and then got him into handcuffs and puked everywhere. But I did not quit. I was like, I will not stop. Like if it's possible for me to catch you, I'm going to chase you down. And I just had that mindset. But it's, you know, what's weird, you know, in that experience is I remember fighting people and you could tell like instinctually inside them, even if in the beginning, they were fearful and weird and awkward, but there's just like this animalistic survival instinct inside of us. When you're fighting for your life, it was like they had this other different type of strength that the fight. And I'm telling you, 30 seconds to a minute of a fight, like for your life, is so exhausting and so long. So these fights we've had, I think the longest one I ever had as a cop was like 2-3 minutes at the most. And that is horrific. That's a horrible fight for your life. I remember being so tired. I was pinning this guy down and I heard the sirens coming and me and him were fighting and we were both exhausted. And I heard the sirens. I'm like, okay, they're coming. And we're fighting. And I saw the guy come over. And as soon as he got there, I just fell over on my side, just dead tired. And my partner grabbed him and put him in handcuffs. And I'm like, oh, I was just dead tired. Like I just fought until the end. And that's so animalistic. But I remember in the middle of the fight, like him getting stronger and fighting more because he felt like it was the end for him. And so inside all of us, there's this spark, this will to live. And we need to cultivate that. We need to know that. We need to feel that at some point in our life. And I don't think you need to feel it in a fight for your life. I don't want that. But I do want you to feel it at your edge in some kind of difficult circumstance that you create in your life, like going to jiujitsu or pushing your edge, whether it's running, you know, you can do it. There's some guys that run long distance and stuff like that. You hit a wall and running and you have to push past that wall. I want everyone in life to feel that spark, you know, to feel that, like that drive to live, to truly live for once in this life, not this like, you know, comfortable little, you know, bubble we've lived in, but to go outside that edge and be like, feel that risk. And like, this is 50-50. I don't know if I'm going to make this. Like, can I get through this? I've been on the bottom of a roll with, you know, coach or someone that's just kicking my ass. And I'm like, man, can I push through this? And I'm like, fuck yeah, that's the edge I want. I'm crave that shit. I want to know myself better. And that's how you ask more of yourself in combat. and then that allows you to show up in your family stronger. When you're scared, like there's a lot of uncertainty with pregnancy and being a parent, like I got my kids fighting or whatever they're doing. And I'm like, okay, how do I want to show up? Like capable of being a good man in this circumstance. It's like that reminds you, because you've been through some difficult shit in combat, whether it's whatever you create for that, you know yourself better and you can show up more powerfully in your home life and your friendships and different areas of your life. You need that. There's this innate like survival like instinct inside you that we can dig into and really elevate ourselves. If I don't know if you've ever felt that in a fight, like you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, a couple things, man. A couple things on that topic. Number one, just going back to being separated from our natural state of being, from our nature. In our natural state of being, there's constantly the possibility of death, and so we have to fucking walk through life with the constant possibility that you could die today. And as scary as that is, being a cop for 10 years, we did that. I did that shit 10 years straight, like every day. That's why you see people hating on cops. And I'm like, you guys are pussies. You don't know. First of all, you couldn't do it. First of all, you'd never do it because you're a pussy. If you're talking shit about the cops, the shit you see in the media, that's a fucking thankless job, man. You go to work every day. Your heart rate goes up when you step in your car. You go and put on a fucking bulletproof vest. You get your gun and you're like, well, I'm going to fucking live today. No one's going to fucking take my life. You know what I mean? If I got to kill for my life, then so be it. You know what I mean? I'm ready. And that has done something for my life and for yours, I'm sure, as far as growth, having to live in that natural state. If we were living on the fucking plains, hunting and gathering, every day you could die. You're on the lookout every day. Is that healthy? I think maybe it is. Maybe it's healthy for our soul and our spirit and our growth to be in that situation, So I'm thankful for that. And then what you said about the when you were fighting that guy in the backup rolled up, bro, that like gave me, like I had a flash, like I got chills and shit, because I've been in that situation, man. There's nothing like being in a bad situation and your boys show up, your boys, the dudes who will die for you, show up and they run up. They fucking run up, and whatever you need, they're there, and we would do the same thing for them. And there's no feeling like that, What came to mind was a quick story. One time I had a female partner. For some reason, I always had the same female partner, which is fine. You know what I mean? It's fine. I have nothing against, there's really good female cops. This one was, she was on the more into the beauty and shit like that. So, she had nice fingernails done and shit like that. Her hair was dyed and came smelling good and all that. And I'm like, that's good, good for you. But if we get in a fight, I really don't feel like you're going to fucking help me. Like I like rolling with guys who like to scrap, you know what I mean? Because I got in fights a lot, and because we're going after assholes and you have to hold yourself back if you don't trust your partner in saving you. So we went to this loud music call at what was it, Peach and Olive, the Crystal Falls.
Yeah,
it was Crystal Falls. It's something else now. And that place, Lake Bell City, fucking drug deal city, pimp city, and we went to this call and it was loud music and the guy was playing Too Short. And we walk up and I like Too Short, so I was fucking dancing when I was crip walking when I walked up and shit. And there's dudes sitting outside, like 5 or 6 dudes sitting outside. And then there's this big motherfucker standing by the door, a big motherfucker. Like he ended up being like this bouncer at this club. He was, he was probably like, when I say big, he would have been a big heavyweight in the UFC. He was a big mother, like 6'4", 6'5", big motherfucker, And so we walk up and he was being a dick right away. He's like, what we're just listening to music. Like, all right, bro, here's the deal. It was apartments and they're blasting fucking Too Short at like 1 a.m. Like, bro, you got to turn it down, man. I don't want to give you a ticket. I just turn it down. I like your music. Have fun. Just turn it down, man. And he was like, he looked at me for a minute and then he's like, okay, I'll turn it down. And he was being a dick or whatever. And so he goes inside, he turns it down. I'm like, okay, we can clear this call, and he comes then like a second later, boom, he turns it on back up and he walks out and starts looking at us and dancing and shit. This big motherfucker, like he's like, I ain't not doing what you want me to do. So then my partner with her pretty nails and shit, she goes over to, she's like, if you're not going to comply, you're going to have to get arrested, and and I'm like, okay, there's 2 of us. No one else is here. There's like 5 or 6 dudes and this big motherfucker, and my mind is like, okay, can I take all 6 of these motherfuckers? Probably not, So she's like, he's dancing fucking right in front of her. She's like, she's telling him she's going to arrest him. And as she's telling him, this big motherfucker, gangster motherfucker, he's dancing right in front of her and he's not listening. So she's like, put your hand behind your back. And and he's like, no, he's like, he basically just is like, fuck you, you know? So she grabs his wrist, and when she grabs his wrist, he's still dancing and he just turns away. He turns away. I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay. So those of you listening, this is where force comes in. This is where force comes in. You've been told, you know, people will see this on camera, like, you shouldn't have done this. You shouldn't have done that. No, unfortunately, you chose to live in this society, and in this society, there's laws. And if you're not privy to the fucking laws, then you need to get privy to the laws and understand what's happening in the situation. Don't judge what you see on the fucking media. You know, like, this is where force comes in. If you like it or not, you know, if you like it or not, when a police officer gives you one command, the minute that you do not take that command and listen, a fist to the fucking mouth is fucking okay. Okay. You can, if I tell you to do something and you don't do it, I punch you in the mouth. I'm going to get away with that in court, whether you like it or not. That's just the way it goes in this society. Move to fucking wherever, move to another country if you don't like it. You know what I'm saying? It's the way it goes. So she tells him to put his hands behind his back, and this big motherfucker just turns around and doesn't do it. And I'm like, okay, now you got to go to jail. You know, now we got to get you to jail. So the minute he turns around, I hit him in the chest with the motherfucking taser. Bah! You know, I'm like, I'm not playing with you, motherfucker. Like, there was no hesitation, right in the fucking chest. Right when I hit him, he fucking stepped toward me with his fist, and then the electricity got him. Boom, right on the cement. So he's on the cement and he's trying to get back up. So I'm, you know, once you hit him with the taser, you can hit him again. You can send the electricity again. How many volts? 50,000 volts? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he's on the ground, you know, getting fucking fried up. He keeps trying to get up. And I'm like, really? You know, girl, you had to start this shit, you know? Yeah. So then he's on the ground getting tased, and his friends start charging at me. You know what I mean? So then I'm tasing him, and I pull out my fucking, my expandable baton. Whack! And as they come at me, I start fucking swinging it at their heads and shit, you know? So I'm like, you get back, motherfucker, get the fuck back. And she's like standing behind me. And as I'm doing this, I'm like, hey, can you call for backup? Shit, you know, while I'm doing, I had to tell her to call for fucking backup while I'm doing this. And she's over there, you know, filing her nails and shit. Backup. She called for backup. And, you know, and this, so then backup's got to come. It's a few minutes. You know what I mean? So, but it worked. They teach you in the academy, swing this shit at their ankles or their whatever, and they'll step back. So there's 6 motherfuckers yelling at me. You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to do that. And I'm swinging the baton at their faces and shit, yelling at them while this guy, this giant, is down here. But, you know, and that lasts for like 2 or 3 minutes of that intense fucking moment. Intense, you know, one wrong move and these guys jump on me, take my gun and kill me, you know? But when those fucking sirens, when your buddies pull up at that moment, bro, what a fucking relief, man. Like, how grateful for you are, and that you build a bond that can't be broken, you know, because these motherfuckers will die for you, and you're in these situations. And yeah, just when you said that, it made me like, goddamn, I remember that feeling, being in an intense moment, and, you know, your buddies are fucking flying with their fucking lights on, you know, putting their life on the line, flying there to get there to help you, man. And yeah, man, I just wanted to share that story. That was a fun one.
Yeah, that's intense.
One of the hooks ended up going in his nipple too. Like, he had one in his stomach, and one of the hooks that from the fucking taser went right into his fucking nipple. I was like, yeah, fucking bullseye, motherfucker.
It's carnage out there, man. You cause some damage when you're living that. And with the force, it's like understandable. Like, I do think if police were trained better, the force of punching him in the mouth wouldn't be as necessary. But when you're in a fight for your life, which you are at every second when you're on duty, you are fighting for your life every second. Sometimes you don't have, you know, kosher options. It doesn't look cute, doesn't look sweet, because it's not. You're like, hey, I'm not risking my life for you to be an asshole to me. It's not that funny to me. It's not that cute, because my life is actually on the line. And no one really takes that into account, because they would never put themselves in that circumstance, but they will judge the person in that circumstance very harshly, because they don't know what it feels like to have their life on the line like that. It's terrifying, and it's horrific, and it's sad that we have to have people do that as a way of society. But I got to pop out of here pretty quick and get to
shit. What time is it? Oh yeah, we went past.
Yeah, rate and review on Apple podcasts. That helps it out a ton. We read all those. We acknowledge all those. That they're super helpful. And dude, I think those are fun stories. And find that edge, you know. And I'm not saying in those circumstances those are extreme, but we all have that survival instinct, that spark inside of us to truly live, you know. And death is a single moment in the entirety of our existence. Choosing to live, that's the full life, right? Like, don't think that, you know, just existing is living. You know, death is a single moment that you may be caught up in, thinking about all the time and in fear of. But the truth is you're avoiding truly living for all the moments you were given. You know, creating moments like this, experiences like this, living life to the fullest. That's where, when you look back on your life at the end, this memento mori, you know, when you ask questions of yourself, you're going to remember these moments that actually meant something to you. That's the quality. That's the value of life, is being able to answer those questions you have at the end of your life with, wow, I really showed up. I had an amazing friendship. I did amazing things. I pushed myself beyond my edges, and I really lived. I didn't just wait for death.
Yes, sir. That's it. And jiu-jitsu will at least help you with that a little bit, man. That's living. You're in there fighting. So shout out to all the jiu-jiteros. Is that how you say that word? Jiu-jiteros out there. Jiu-jiteros.
Jiu-jiteros, Coast to Coast. That's a good podcast too. That's Frank's podcast.
Oh yeah, check out Frank's podcast. And yeah, man. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to everybody listening. All the cops out there freaking putting their life on the line and doing what they need to do, to stay alive, all the gangsters out there fucking doing what they need to do to stay alive, slinging cocaine and crack to make a little bit of fucking fetty in this bitch. Everybody's got to do what they got to do, man, but don't get mad when you get fucked up. So anyhow, all right. Well, that's a good episode for today. And we'll see you on the next one. Hit us up. Soulrollers_JJ on Instagram. Thank you, William.
Yep. Love you.
Yeah. Have a good day, man. All right. Love you. Peace, man.
Yep.